I am Vinnie and folks. Here we are again on the Friday show. Your good intentions have been stolen, but don't worry, I'm here to help you get them back. You may be soft and succulent when we start this process, but hang in there. Before long, you will be lean and mean, and that's a guarantee from me. You know what it means when we do the Friday show. We bring someone in who has some knowledge. They drop mad knowledge on us like the kids. Do the kids still say mad knowledge? I guess not. They've moved on to other stuff. They're all woke and everything. Anyway, we bring people on that have way more knowledge than me. We figured out a long time ago that's not very difficult to do, but these people are crazy smart. And I enjoy this show more than almost any other show I do during the week. She has been on the show before. She was also in my movie, Fat, a documentary, along with her husband, who's a doctor, Matt McKenzie. But today we're going to be talking to Bethany McKenzie. Bethany, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm great. Thanks for having
me. You're welcome. You've been on the show several times. Do you have any idea how many times we've had you on now?
third time?
At least, right? I mean,
so.
Yeah. And I never get enough of you because your story, I talk to a lot of people with stories that just carry over and over and over again. And your story, yours and Matt's story with your son was just too ripe and too good not to have in my first movie. And since then, even before then, you were yapping as loud as you could, becoming the biggest megaphone you could be for type 1 diabetes. Folks, that's the one that you do not cause to yourself. You're born with it. It's genetic. Your son had it, and you guys found out in a crazy way. The kid almost died. Why don't you give us a recap of that, and then we're going to talk about some of the other stuff that's going on now and what you're doing now.
Sure. Our son River was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes at the age of 5. Oddly enough, Matt and I had traveled that weekend to Chicago, and I always weigh my kids before I travel so that the babysitter would know how much Tylenol to give them if they had a fever. And when I left town, he weighed 45 pounds. And when we got back like 3 or 4 days later, he weighed 40 pounds. So he had lost 5 pounds in 4 or 5 days.
Wow.
Giant red flag, brought him to the hospital. His blood sugars were through the roof. He had type 1 diabetes. We knew very little about it, even though we're both in the medical community. Our gut instinct was, oh, wow, we're going to have to change our diets. I mean, we know that diabetes has to do with sugar and the foods you consume. And I remember having a moment with my husband outside the elevator, and we said to each other, oh gosh, we're going to change everything. I'm going to go home. I'm going to clean the pantry out. And our very next appointment in the hospital, because you go through these educational appointments, was with the dietitian. And she made me practice counting carbohydrates using plastic foods like pancakes, little cups of real syrup, glasses of orange juice, pieces of pizza, all kinds of food. And I had this absent look on my face, and my husband recalls it vividly, but they thought I wasn't smart enough to comprehend how to count these carbohydrates and perform some magical math ratio to determine his insulin dose. But
Right.
in my head, I was thinking, what on earth? Like, this doesn't make sense to what I know. But yet I'm kind of the perfect storm. I come from a medical family. I trust doctors. I love doctors. My husband's a doctor. So I've always taken their advice to heart. So when they told me, no, your kid needs 60 carbs a meal, I took that and ran with it.
A meal, not per day, Bethany.
A meal, 45 to 60 carbs a meal.
That's 180 carbs per day. Now, hang on just a second.
Mhm.
I want to go back. I don't want the audience to fall asleep on the fact that you weighed your kids before you left for a trip to Chicago. Okay. I had great parents, both school teachers, both great parents. Well, first off, we didn't own a scale growing up. I didn't even know that was a thing. We got on the scale whenever we go to the doctor. I thought it was a really cool thing. You went on the scale and it moved the little bar over, and and there was no scale in our house. You're mother of the year already because you want to figure out if your kid gets sick, how much drug that kid can handle. No one does that.
You might chalk it up to my like being overly organized because I'm one of those traveling
right.
moms that has everything done, but I'm so glad I did. Honestly, I mean, it was a numerical value that I could see with my own eyes. Plus I could see that my kid was deteriorating in front of me.
Right.
But I think if I would have been home with him, I don't know if I would have seen it as well, because when you're with your kid all the time, you just don't notice the changes like that. But I did weigh my kid, and he had lost a lot of weight.
And River wasn't heavy to begin with. Neither of your kids. They're both athletes. They're both tennis stars and what have you. And so these kids were not morbidly obese or anything. They're of average weight for their height, weight, and holding, and they're athletes, correct?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the odd thing is, Vinny, and I'm embarrassed to admit this to you. Our diet was healthier before they told me my kid had diabetes. Because now all of a sudden I'm trying to fit a Nutri-Grain bar in at breakfast to get to the carb count they want me to justify the insulin dose they want me to take to give him. It, like I said, I'm the perfect storm because I trusted them and I believed them and I followed their rules for 3 years. And my poor kid from the age of 5 to 8 had really high blood sugars and he felt miserable. They're awful. Your head is throbbing. You feel stuck and slow. He would swing from a high blood sugar to a low blood sugar. He's shaky and sweaty, can't run around and play. I have to pull him off the playground at the park. I mean, it's no way for a kid to live. So for 3 years, my kid was in diabetes hell because I followed the rules that were given to me.
And Matt is an orthopedic surgeon, super smart guy. And, you know, he's watching this, but he's got to be thinking, look, I'm not going to step on another doctor's toes. How does that work?
Well,
in
right.
your
It
house?
is, I mean, it is professional courtesy. People trust my husband. My husband trusts other people. I think when you're in the medical community, it's harder to see all the ways in which things don't add up. And now that our eyes are open, holy cow, we see everything. We see questionable medical practices. So
Right.
Matt, I don't know. I mean, he's a busy guy. He trusted me to take care of our child. He thought I was doing my best. I mean, you see, if I weigh my kid before a vacation, I was
Right.
scooping his food and weighing it and counting the carbs, and I'm great at math. And I was doing all the things perfectly. The things they asked me to do, I was crushing it, but it was giving us miserable results.
Right.
So, and Matt, you know, once I came around, he came around with me. I mean, it was just like this light bulb went off. Why had we not thought about, I don't know. I'm embarrassed to say that it took us so long, but it also adds to our story because a lot of people want to think that, oh, we're healthy people, we're athletes. We had it figured out from the start. We didn't.
No, listen, I went to Tulane with a kid who was a type 1 and he was going to medical school. He was still undergrad, you know, and his mom and dad were both doctors. We hung out together. He was into sports and the whole kind of, you know, that kind of thing. He wasn't, I was a D1 athlete. He wasn't, but he always had either a Hershey's bar or a Snickers bar hanging out of his pocket. He always had like a roll of Lifesavers. He had junk food on him at all times, right? You know, I used to jokingly call him 7-Eleven because the guy looked like a shelf at the 7-Eleven. You get in his car, he had moon pies, he had stuff. And I was like, how are you not the fattest? He was like, oh no, I got to keep all the stuff around me, you know, because of the type 1. And I was like, all right, well, and I always remembered my grandmother. And, you know, I didn't put the two together because my grandmother used to say, this is an old Italian woman from the old country, no education. She would, don't eat too much sugar, you're going to get diabetes. She was talking about type 2 diabetes, which really didn't exist when I was a kid. But somehow my old grandmother from Italy knew this.
Right.
Right. And listen, folks, I'm not stupid. I'm not stupid. I'm not ignorant. I may be stupid. Yes, there's a big difference between type 1 and type 2. And here was the son of 2 doctors who had a 7-Eleven around him at all times with all the junk food, just in case he had to bring that sugar level up.
And
right?
I can explain that to you a little bit, Vinny, why he probably had so much junk around him and why he stayed thin. People have low blood sugars with diabetes because of too large of a dose of insulin. They
Right.
don't go low on their own. It's because they ate a giant meal, they took a giant dose of insulin, and that caused their blood sugar to go too low. So then he grabs his little 7-Eleven around him and brings his blood sugar back up. Now, if he's running chronic high blood sugars, he's probably also peeing out some of that sugar, which is how
Right.
kids, why they lose weight when they're first diagnosed. I mean, it's a mess.
Yeah, and that was back in the days. I went to school in the 80s. That was just the old-fashioned slow-acting insulin, right? It was the trickle charge of insulin, not like what they have today. And
But you know
go
what I love?
on.
You're going to love this, Vinny. So we use the old trickle insulin.
Oh, I know that. We talked about it.
Yeah.
Did we talk about that in the movie, or did you tell me that in one of the podcasts?
I know we've talked about it. I think it was in a podcast.
Yeah, the old-timey insulin is so cheap that anyone can afford it versus this fast-acting stuff that they have now, which is what they want you on around the clock,
Yes, they
right?
do. The
And you
insulin
see,
is very inexpensive.
right. So I'm already smelling problems, when they want you to be on something else and they're telling you, hey, eat 108 for a kid, eat 180 grams of carbohydrates per day, eat that, and then take this very expensive stuff over here. Does any of this sound familiar, folks? Are we living any of this anywhere else in the world right now? Think about that for a minute. While you're thinking about that, I'm going to tell you about a great company called purevitaminclub.com. Purevitaminclub.com. I actually know the owner. Why? Because I am the owner. I came up with this company. It was out of my 3 companies that I started. It was the first one. And I started it because after my own battle with cancer, I started looking at everything I put into my mouth. And I was shocked and dismayed when I was reading on the back of every supplement that I took, every multivitamin, and I was back then, it was magnesium and the whole thing. They all seem to have something called either magnesium stearate in it, or it had titanium dioxide. And I was like, why would they put titanium dioxide in a vitamin? So I started going down rabbit holes, and I learned very quickly that the only reason they put titanium dioxide into a vitamin is to turn it white. And then they can turn it into any color they think that you might think a vitamin should be. Titanium dioxide, folks, even in nanoparticles, can cause colon cancer. Magnesium stearate can cause a bunch of problems, including blocking the absorption of the exact vitamin you're trying to get to absorb. So I went my way about figuring out how to make the world's best vitamin. And that's when I came up with the first multivitamin that was free of everything. Purevitaminclub.com put out one product. We're up to a gazillion products now. You can get your magnesium from my company, not the stearate, the good stuff. We also have the ultra salt. The ultra salt is, I always say, if my vitamin company is Destiny's Child, the ultra salt is Beyonce. Think of it that way. We can't keep that stuff on the shelf, along with the vitamin D. Go check it all out, purevitaminclub.com. There is no discount code because we already discounted as much as we can. If I threw a discount code on top of everything else we do at purevitaminclub.com, I would be losing money. I'm not making that up. So go check it all out, purevitaminclub.com. We're talking to the woman who on Instagram is Let Me Be 83. And we're going to talk about what that means. If you have a diabetic kid, you'll know what that means. She also did a documentary. She was in my documentary, Fat documentary, but she did a documentary called The Diabetes Solution. We're going to talk about that. Let's go right into that, and then we can meander in and out of some of the controversy that's going on in your world, because I live in a world where there's nothing but controversy around me every day. That's why I like talking to people like you, Bethany. Tell me about the movie first. I've seen it in full. I was shocked when I saw the original 20-minute piece of it. Is it out there or is it coming out? Where are we now?
It's coming out. It launches November 9th.
Okay.
You can stream it on iTunes, Apple TV, Google Play, or Vimeo worldwide. It's also for sale in Barnes and Noble, Amazon, Best Buy, and a couple of other retailers.
Did you say it was going to stream on Amazon also?
It's not streaming on Amazon yet.
Okay. Is it up for pre-sale right now?
Close. This Friday it should be. Friday or
Okay.
Monday, I'll have all of the links for pre-sale. It is for sale on Amazon right now.
I will try to hold this podcast for another week so that when it comes out, people will be close to the date of it. When I saw the 20-minute piece of what you had done, this was a couple of years ago. I was working on my first documentary. We were already done shooting everything. And I said, hey, is it possible to get you and Matt to come and tell your story on camera? And we put you guys in a movie because I couldn't believe what you were showing didn't make sense. I couldn't believe it. But sometimes the truth is stranger than fiction. Talk about what they were doing and what they thought of you, meaning the medical community, and what happened.
Well, when I first learned about this low carb diet when River was 8, I basically skipped into our endocrinologist's office thinking that I had won the lottery and that I had stumbled upon the best thing ever. And how had we never been told about this? And his words to me were, right in front of River, mind you, my son is listening to this. He said, your child's going to resent you forever. He'll have an eating disorder. He won't grow right. His brain won't develop. And basically just stomped all over the progress we had made. And he kept calling it, the Atkins diet and meat and cheese and his cholesterol. And I'm like, wait a minute, you don't understand. He's having proteins and vegetables and omelets and almond flour pancakes. And he was just trying to pigeonhole me into this very restrictive diet. Anyway, he was completely against it. So I left that day feeling terrible and honestly questioning myself. But then luckily for kids with type 1 diabetes, we have continuous glucose monitors so we can visually see what foods are doing to our kids 24 hours a day. So even though his words were condemning me for what I was doing, our blood sugar graphs were telling me a completely different story. And you know what? The biggest health concern to my kid is his blood sugars. Yeah. That is the biggest determiner of his future health. So I made the decision, I'm sticking on my path. I'm going to keep going. And it only took a few months into this new low carb lifestyle. It was so overwhelming to our whole, joy in life and peace as a family. That's when I created the foundation. And then I started arguing on social media and making a case for why all kids should consider this or why doctors should at least offer it at the first appointment. But instead, Vinnie, you know what they tell their patients? They say, you don't need to change your child's diet. Just count the carbs and give them insulin. They don't even bother to ask, what is your child's diet like right now? Do you know any kid that couldn't tweak their diet and do something a little bit better? They're so completely not curious about nutrition and the way it can help their pediatric population. They just tell them, go on with what you're doing, use insulin, goodbye.
What confuses me is, well, there's a large disconnect for me because, they don't want your kid to hate you and resent you and be resentful of his own life. When I was a kid, I'm 59 years old and I'm already going, when I was a kid, everything was different. But we didn't have candy bars every day. There were no sports bars. There were no Gatorades. I'll never forget Gatorade. We used to drink it at football practice and maybe some right after practice. And that was back in the days when it was a company called Stokely's Gatorade. It was the original company that made Gatorade. It tasted like sugar and salt. It didn't taste the way it tastes today. It was like real sugar and salt mixed with water with some kind of lemony taste. That was sports drink back then. It wasn't something you wanted to have anything past football practice. Like we didn't go, man, I'm at home now. Wish I could get myself one of those Gatorades. It just didn't occur to us, right? we didn't have Coca-Cola around the clock. I mean, I've told this story thousands of times on this podcast, but I know for a fact I never drank more than 70 ounces of Coke per year when I was a kid, because the only time, in fact, that I had a Coke was at Frank Danino's barbershop. And I figured I've got maybe 10 or 12 haircuts per year. The Cokes were 10 cents and they were 7-ounce bottles. And I never finished them. Why? Because once it wasn't freezing cold anymore, it tasted like crap to me. I never finished that 7-ounce bottle of Coke, right? Now Coke comes in 64-ounce cups and it's refillable for free, right? We live in this world where people go, I don't want to be denied. I don't want to be denied. And it's like, man, I lived a pretty good childhood. I never felt denied with my 70 ounces or less of Coke per year.
Right.
You know, we didn't have 7-Elevens on every street corner where you could get stuff. Now, I'm still saying 7-Elevens. They're these food services that just come to your house and drop it at your door. Every time I do a consult, Bethany, people say to me, well, you know, DoorDash just shows up. No, it doesn't just show up. You have to fucking call them. You have to do something. DoorDash has never shown up to my house with junk food. Why? Because I don't even have the ability to call them. I'm sure it's an app. Is it an app? Do you know?
I think it's an app.
Okay. You know, I don't even know how to do it, right? Why? Because I don't feel that I have to have junk food around me 24 hours a day. I have not had in my life a 64-ounce soft drink. Ever. It's just never happened. I've never smoked a joint, which is odd because I played college ball and everything. There are things I've not done in my life. I don't feel like I've been, oh my God, you've neglected yourself without all this DoorDash crap, right?
Right.
You know, and here we are, doctors telling you you're going to kill your kid, this Atkins meat and cheese diet. Now, you see the numbers. I'm sorry, Bethany, I go crazy on this sometimes. But you see the numbers. You see, oh my God, I have the CGM on the back of my kid's arm, and I'm looking at it. His blood sugars are hanging in there. I can give him the old-timey insulin. He doesn't need all this fast acting. I can control my kid. I can get some sleep at night. Right. I don't have to worry about my waking up to a dead kid, because I think that's the biggest problem when I talk to parents of T1s, the nightmare of waking up to a dead kid. I get that. Right. Okay. You're doing this. You're feeling good. Does his cholesterol go berserk? Does anything bad happen to him? He's 8 years old. Please tell.
No, we changed his diet. He became an honors student. He's bilingual. He's nationally ranked in tennis. He's built like a Greek god. His lipid profile is amazing. He has low triglycerides, a low A1C, beautiful HDL, a lower LDL. None of that. He loves me. Shocking, right? I mean, he doesn't resent me. He doesn't have an eating disorder. In fact, he has an indulgent eating disorder. He has the best foods. I mean, the kid lives on steak and chicken and protein and vegetables and Caesar salad. I mean, he is not a deprived kid. And what I like to think about when these doctors are saying, oh, he's going to resent you, they're thinking of such a finite time in their life. Until they're 18 years old, they care more about the junk and the fitting in at birthday parties than they do about the 30-year-old people getting renal dialysis, or the 40-year-old man with retinopathy, or, they're so short-sighted. My job as River's parent is to keep him healthy so he has a beautiful future. So I want to make him not resent me when he's 30 or 40. And I can handle the tough years between 0 and 18 where he has a Caesar salad instead of French fries. I can handle that.
Yeah. And look, I mean, I thought we were pretty good parents. My stepdaughter was into horses. So it was horse events every weekend. That's pretty easy. You guys are traveling with the tennis and everything else, right? And both of your kids you're parents of the year, and you pop up on my Instagram when you're friends with someone, they pop up, but I never see your mug. I always see River and food. It's like he's always with the mug holding the dish or going, hey, I'm eating something really cool. And I'm looking at it going, I wonder what that is. I wonder if I can go make that right now. you know? So yeah, you're Mother of the Year, you're doing all this stuff. Are you making any ground with other parents? How does that work?
Absolutely. The tides are turning. And, I have a love-hate relationship with social media, but I credit social media and certain diabetes groups and sharing this other information that you're not told about at the doctor's office. Momentum is building so quickly right now, Vinnie. It's a beautiful thing. The film, I think, is going to reach a ton of people.
Yeah.
At least, even if they don't do exactly what we do to the extent that we do, there's a question in their head now. Why did you serve my kid a personal pan pizza in the hospital when they were diagnosed with diabetes?
Right.
Why are you giving me lists of carb counts for Halloween candy? Wait a minute, why would you do that? Candy isn't good for anybody, and it's especially bad for a kid. So I want to empower parents to have the ability to question what they're being told. Why should I do that? And you know
Right.
what? Have the autonomy and be bold and make decisions that suit your kid. Think outside of all the guidelines and all the corruption and all the almighty dollar buying Kellogg cereal and buying insulin, and do what's right for your family.
Let's talk about some of the controversy, because what you're talking about within type 1, when it comes to type 2, which it's sucked that they call them both diabetes because they have nothing to do with each other. The end result is you need insulin on both, but they shouldn't be talked about in the same way because it confuses people.
Yes.
And, there's controversy in both type 1 and type 2 communities. What's some of the controversy that's going on in type 1? What do you see?
I see a lot, and I see more. The more the low carb message is getting out, obviously, the stronger the opposition is coming at us also. Things like the JDRF giving out carb counts for Halloween candy. They have a huge following. They raise tons of money. They're literally telling their crowd, here, eat this candy.
Right.
There's a very well-known diabetes center called the Barbara Davis Center in Denver, Colorado.
The Davises, if I remember, they were an oil family, right?
I don't even know the history. I don't know.
Yeah. The husband, they were an oil family, and then the husband, they wanted to be part of Hollywood. If I have the right family out of Denver, they wanted to become like Hollywood royalty. And the way you do that is you buy a studio or you run it. And so the husband, and they lived in Beverly Hills. I know this because I spent 30 years there working with these types of nice people. But yeah, Barbara Davis was a socialite in Beverly Hills.
Right.
And I think one of the kids was diabetic or something to that degree.
Right.
Am I getting any of that right?
I think you're right. I mean, I didn't know they were from oil, but the rest sounds true to me.
I'm looking her up right now.
Okay.
Barbara Davis, American philanthropist. Oh, there she is. I remember that big hair anywhere. Let's see if I can figure this out really quickly. Let's go here. Let's just go right here and see what we have. An American philanthropist, billionaire, and widow of Marvin Davis. Yeah, Marvin Davis was the guy. In 1977, she established the Children's Diabetes Foundation. Since 1978, she has been she has organized black tie, invitational only, Carousel of Hope, blah, 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 ball, da, 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 da. She also serves as the board, blah, 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 personal life, married to Marvin Davis. Let me get to Marvin Davis real fast. I want to see how correct I was about this. Right now, I'm just jerking off here. Just give me a second. Marvin Davis is raised in a Jewish family. His son, Jack Davis, Gene, blah, 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 blah. Petroleum business. He joined his father in the oil exploration business and later nicknamed the Wildcatter. Davis Oil Company drilled, blah, blah, blah. Davis' son, 20th Century Fox, later career. So, yes, that is the same family. I knew it. When I heard Barbara Davis, I went, I know these people. I may or may not have worked with a lot of the Davises. And between you and me, say whatever you would like to say about these these nice people. Say whatever you would like to say because they are not nice people.
Okay.
Go on.
Okay. So the Barbara Davis Center is in Denver. It's renowned. I'm sure they do some good work. And I have heard there are some physicians there who are a little more progressive and who are very accepting of a low carb diet. However, there was a task force that they put together to figure out how they were going to deal with all these new families showing up who want to take their child to a low carb diet. And I love this because Colorado is such a healthy state. I mean, I love all the crunchy people who hike every day and eat good food. So there's a big population of people in Colorado who are like, yeah, this healthy lifestyle works for me and I'm going to try it on my type 1 kid. Well, their task force came together and decided that they made a pamphlet. I have a photo of it, that any kid, and they're telling this to the parents in front of the kid, the patient again, if you don't feed your child at least 100 carbs a day, we are going to require quarterly blood tests and yearly bone density scans that they'll have to pay for. But I can imagine some sweet family with their 8-year-old boy in an office hearing that he has to have his arm poked 4 times a year in order to justify eating omelets and broccoli and good food. I mean, that would cause such chaos in a family. So they're literally making life more challenging for the people choosing to eat a healthy diet than the ones serving their kids Uncrustables and Cheetos for lunch every day.
Unbelievable.
Backwards, right?
Yeah. Completely backwards.
The other controversy, the ADA, I thoroughly talk about them in the film.
Right.
But I like to tune into what they're doing. They had a wonderful CEO who went on a low carb diet herself. Unfortunately, now she's left her position. But they had a webinar recently with their head registered dietitian. And the ADA's statement is there's no proper balance of carbs, fat, and protein that we can recommend for a person with diabetes. And on her webinar, she went on to say we need to leave room in our life for goodies and that you should have 4 or 5 bites of apple pie because you deserve that goodie as a person with diabetes. So her body is hearing, and moderation doesn't work. People don't get type 2 diabetes because they were able to eat 4 bites of pie at Thanksgiving. I mean, it's just such bad advice and people are hurting. They're hurting real people by their bad advice.
That's like, AA, the Alcoholics Anonymous coming out and saying, you know what, moderate drinking.
Yes, right?
It's identical to that. It's not almost like that. It's identical to Narcotics Anonymous going, I tell you what, the amount of heroin you were taking, but if you just smoked a little heroin here and there, you're okay.
Right.
Can you imagine saying that to a drug addict?
Oh, or 4 or 5 cigarettes to a person with lung cancer. Just have a few.
Yeah, just cut it back. What, you're a 2-pack a day guy? Knock it back to a pack a day. Does any of that make sense? Folks, what I'm saying is I'm not saying this to be funny. It's akin to exactly what the ADA is telling people to do. Their top dietitian is telling people to do that. Try to moderate your drug problem. Try to moderate your alcohol problem. Try to moderate your sugar problem. They're all problems.
Deserve it. Deserve. Those were her words. You deserve it. And on her own Instagram page, she shows a healthy McDonald's breakfast of a yogurt parfait.
Okay. I would be willing to bet, maybe you could tell me because I know you know for sure, that a yogurt parfait from McDonald's is at least equal to the amount of sugar in a 12-ounce Coke. Prove me wrong.
Should be. I mean, thankfully I haven't studied the carb counts at McDonald's, but I can only imagine.
I need to know because a Coke has about 42 grams of sugar.
Oh, I bet that Parfait has 45 to 50.
All right, let's see. Here we go. Parfait Nutrition. Let's see what they have here. I was shocked that I knew how to spell parfait. I grew up in the deep South in Cajun country, so I shouldn't be that shocked. Let's see here. Calories. Of course, they tell you calories for carbohydrates. Okay. They show a wheel. Oh, here are the carbs. Total carbohydrates. Are you ready?
What is it?
I said a Coke is around 42 grams, right?
Right.
The Parfait is 40 grams.
There you go.
40 grams.
Yep.
40 grams. Hey, Bethany, when was the last time you had a Coke for breakfast?
Never.
Okay.
No.
Why not?
Well, I prefer.
Why not?
Yes. No, it's just not going to happen.
And you know what I heard the other day? I might get the cereal wrong. Let's say it was Fruity Pebbles, but it was a cereal the other day where they're now going to make milk taste like, like the cereal tasted.
Yes.
So now you could pour all that sugar on top of your sugary cereal.
Right.
Can you imagine? My teeth just fell out of my mouth hearing that.
Yep. Nope. I volunteered at like a summer camp one time for my kids, and they would have to send a bagged lunch, and I would look at the food, but then they would send a bottle of water, and I was like, oh, perfect, water for lunch. And then they would send a little thing of Kool-Aid, a little sleeve of Kool-Aid that you open and dump into that perfectly good water.
Wow.
Kids are so addicted to sugar.
The girl that does my my Sunday show, we call it Vinnie Sunday School, Gina Grad. She has a step kid now, 5 years old, maybe 6. And he goes off to school in Beverly Hills. You would think it's a step better. It's Beverly. She sends me photos of what the kid brings home. They give them stuff at school, right? It's something that looks like a gummy bear, like a packet of that. And there's a packet with a roll in it, like a cinnamon roll. And it's another packet of, no, there's no nuts because everyone's afraid of nuts. But there's all this stuff, right? So Gina sent me a photo of all this stuff. And I went, wow, all of that in 1 week? And she wrote back, one day. One day. And this kid is 35, 40 pounds. He's a little tiny thing.
Yeah. And they wonder why they can't sit still in class or concentrate or learn. I mean, they're just so jacked full of junk. I will tell you, I got together with some moms who have children with food allergies.
Yeah.
And we approached our school and asked if they would make a no treat policy. And they did. So school-wide, there are absolutely no treats.
Good.
No birthday treats, nothing. If they want to celebrate a birthday, they get a little extra recess time or they get to share a book with their class.
Good.
It's absolutely wonderful. And the teachers love it. The teachers actually love it.
Good. It's good to know that somewhere, somehow, someone is doing something. But by and large, we have, everyone in politics talks about, these poor people and the underserved and the whole thing. Guess what? The public schools are the worst when it comes to these diets. We're not helping out the people who need the most help with nutrition. We have them on these school lunch programs. I'm guessing your kids and a lot of these kids go to private schools, right? That doesn't
public school, but it's an
do
awesome
they?
school. They
Yeah,
do.
but you see, they're good public schools in good areas, right? It's just the way it works. When you start looking at some of these schools in New York and in LA and all this stuff that's not in Beverly Hills, it's crazy. These breakfast, school breakfast, lunch, the whole thing is just junk. It's junk on top of junk. And we're creating more and more of a problem. I yell about it all the time. Go back and look at Woodstock 1969. Look at that and watch anyone crossing the line in a triathlon anywhere after the 12th hour. These people exercise to where they can go 12 hours nonstop. They do not look as good as the wine and beer drinking, swilling kids over at Woodstock 1969. Those kids were ripped. The guy coming across the line in 12 hours in a marathon, God bless him, man, because he worked his ass off, or she worked her ass off, because they had to swim 2-point-something miles. They had to ride 112 miles and run a freaking marathon. They worked their asses off, and they do not look as good as a drug addict at Woodstock. Not even close. What does that tell you? What does that tell you?
It's very sad. And it's why all of these diabetes parents think it's normal. I mean, we've just normalized not feeling well, people being sluggish and maybe mildly overweight. I mean, we've made it normal.
Mildly overweight.
Well, I'm trying to be nice. I don't ever want to pick on a child, right? I mean, it's not the child's.
No, it's not. But we're past look, no one cares more about morbidly obese people than I do. I've been working with them for 40 years. Right. Mm-hmm. We went past mildly obese 25 years ago. When I moved to LA back in 1991, 30 years ago, I walked into Disney, I walked into Nickelodeon, I said, listen, I'm here. I've been working in schools. I have a secondary education degree. I've been working with kids now for years. I know everything there is to know about fitness, and I have these ideas. We're going to do these shows. And they went, great, Vinnie, we love these ideas. We want to work with you. What do you propose? I said, okay, we got to get these kids off of sugar. And they would just laugh me out of the office. It's like, who do you think our sponsors are on Saturday morning? You want to do what? And I said, look, guys, we did it a few years ago. Remember, hanker for a hunk of cheese? Remember all that? The interstitials, 1970s? Let's go back to that. Let's do that. Like, no. And we're not doing that. We're not doing that. Come up with something else. Maybe we could tell kids to exercise. Yeah, we got to get them exercising. I get that. But we got to get them eating right. And they were like, nah, we can't do that. We can't tell them no sugar. You know? Nabisco won't have it.
Yep. I don't know. I hope there's a huge shift. I just think people are learning. Slowly through your documentary, through my movie, getting the word out, I do think people will come around. I have hope.
I'm going to do a quick ad, and then I want to talk to you a little bit about the documentary, and you can wet their whistle a bit and let them know exactly what's in it. Folks, Villa Cappelli olive oil, longest running sponsor of this show. We've had sponsors come and go, but boy, the one that always sticks around is Villa Cappelli. We're talking about eating healthy fats here. You can't get healthier than Villa Cappelli. There are absolutely no seed oils in the product. I guarantee that. I believe so much in this company that we use them over at purevitaminclub.com, my company, in our vitamin D. You always have to mix D with an oil. And I was worried that it would be some kind of weird seed oil that would get mixed in, right? I called up Paul Cappelli back when the man was still alive. And I said, look, I want to get a couple of barrels of this shipped right over so we can put this in our vitamin D. And that's exactly what we do. Anna Vocino uses their oil and her products over at Eat Happy Foods. Is that what it's called? Eat Happy Kitchen. We all believe in this. If you want to save some money, please, when you go to Villa Cappelli, put in promo code Vinnie, VINNIE. And what you get? Oh, just 10% off. If you spend more than $100 after the 10% discount, you'll get free shipping. So order a bunch of stuff, get it to about $150, $120, get that 10% discount and get the free shipping. Villa Cappelli, promo code Vinnie. We're talking to Bethany McKenzie. She's got a great movie coming out, The Diabetes Solution. This show will come out right before that show is released. That movie is released. I can't wait to watch it on my big screen. The last time I saw it, it was on my computer. I'm going to pull it up as soon as it's able to be streamed. I'm going to stream it and watch it again. I've seen bits and pieces of this throughout the whole movie. Tell people what they're going to find in the movie, Bethany.
The movie is a collection of true statements. We tell the truth and leave the viewer to connect the dots. We follow several families, beautiful children who are thriving. It has a message of hope. I've watched lots of diabetes documentaries, and they're all the same sad story. People get amputations. You can't control blood sugars. We need more technology. It doesn't ever empower someone or give them hope. So my story, it follows adult type 1s, kids with type 1. I feel like we're an underrepresented community. The type 1 community, like you said, everyone knows about type 2, but these are the people I love. I got to travel the country, interview amazing people. We tell the story of how insulin, the patent was discovered on insulin through work in Toronto by Frederick Banting. They came up with the patent and sold it for $1.
Yeah.
His direct quote was, insulin, I'm paraphrasing, but insulin is for the world. It's not for me. So he sold that patent for $1. $1. He wanted these kids who were wasting away to have a life-sustaining medication. And what have we done with that? We've taken that exact insulin and marked it up hundreds of %. And we're charging people. Kids at age 26 are coming off their parents' insurance and they're not able to afford insulin. I mean, it's a big mess. So I would say the film is half hope and half, I can't believe this is the state of the medical community.
Yeah, it really is.
A lot of hope.
Yeah, it is really scary. By the way, folks, if you want to figure out who Banting is, go Google that guy. Before we called it the Atkins diet, before we called it keto, before we called it low carb or NSNG, it was called the Banting diet. He was talking about this stuff in the 1920s or 30s. Way back then, Banting was talking about, look, you need to eat this way, especially if you have diabetes. And look, before he came up with insulin, people with diabetes, it was a death sentence. It was and not even a good death sentence, like, a massive coronary where you just drop dead, or something like an aneurysm in your brain where you don't even know what happened. This was a slow, grueling death where they were cutting off pieces of your body until finally you died. That doesn't happen anymore because of insulin. And you can live a better life if you just follow the Banting diet 100%. Bethany, I can't wait to watch it again. It's worth, I've seen, like I said, bits and pieces of it. You've made deals with different companies. Where can people find this when it comes out?
So it will be streamed on iTunes, Apple TV, Google Play, and Vimeo on demand. So that's how we can offer it worldwide. I have a lot of followers who are in Australia, New Zealand, Egypt, Israel. That's the way people in those countries can view the film. So it'll be streamed. It goes live November 9th. The pre-sale should be up at the very latest by November 1st. And those, I know, we talked about it back when FAT was coming out, but those pre-sales are so important so that our movie can get to the top of the list and people can watch it.
Absolutely. By the way, did you go with a distribution company, or are you guys distributing yourself?
No, I did. We're working with Passion River.
Oh, good.
New York. And actually one of the big streaming networks had an interest in buying the film. But the process was taking too long, and I owed it to my crowdfunders and to all the people who supported the project to get this out. So it was important to me. It's World Diabetes Month is November.
Yeah.
The goal is to get the message out, and any money that the movie makes goes right back to the foundation. And it's very expensive to make movies. So if we can break even, I have so many projects. I want to host low carb camps for kids. I'm working on so many things. So watching the movie helps children. It does not profit me one hot penny. It is all for the kids and all for the foundation.
Yeah, I love that you're doing that. For my first movie, I crowdfunded it. FAT, a documentary. You guys gave generously to the movie. You and Matt, you guys were very generous. And when the movie made a profit, Like, I never thought I was going to get my money back because even though we had $250,000, it went way past that. And I put my own money into it. And I said, if I get my money back, my money, not all of your monies, if I get my money back, I'm going to take that same money and see if I can make another movie. Well, I got that money back, plus some of you guys. And I went, you know what? I don't feel like this is my money. I didn't earn this money. I got to do something with it. And it was during COVID. And I said, you know what? I want to put out the rest of the story. So we, I cobbled together Fata Documentary 2, which some people think is better than the original Fata documentary, even though it's never made as much money. As a matter of fact, any money that comes in from the first documentary and the second one is what I've now used to make the third one.
Right.
Right. And Serena goes, well, you do all this work and you don't really make money. And it's like, I don't care. As long as I can keep taking the money, because it was never my money from the beginning, right? If I could just keep taking it and keep it, once it wears down and people aren't watching my documentaries anymore, I'm going to just stop. Don't need it. Yeah.
It's so rewarding to tell a story. And especially if you're speaking up for people who don't have a voice. I mean, if we're an underrepresented community, it is so fun to tell our story.
I love your story. I love what you're doing out there. You seem to be tireless. I'm very happy. I'm happy that you hate the Davis family as much as I do. You didn't say that. I said that. You had no idea I knew so much about those idiots, did you? I mean, those people.
I did not know we were going there.
One day we'll talk about the King family. Remember our King World Distribution? As I've always said about King World Distribution, they write Oprah's check. She was distributed through King World. Yeah. That's how big they are.
Right.
Yeah. I had a lot of families I dealt with in Hollywood, and people have wanted me to write the book for years, and I haven't, and I won't. But boy, I could. Bethany, keep doing what you're doing out there. Hang on, I want to say goodbye to you off the air. Folks, if you like what's going on here, number one, go and get the movie, The Diabetes Solution. Get it on pre-order. I can't tell you guys what that means to Bethany and getting the movie out there. You have to do that. That's number one and foremost. Number two, watch the movie. Tell friends. Get them to watch it. Word of mouth is how this works. Go do it. The Diabetes Solution. You can also buy it on Amazon. You can't stream it on Amazon yet, but you can buy a hard copy. And if you're going to do that, go through VinnieTartaris.com, click through the banner. It puts coal on my fire, gets my train down the track. It helps Bethany out. And guess what? It didn't cost you an extra dime to do that. So just go do that. You're helping everyone by doing that. Also, we have a super fan page at VinnieTartaris.com. You can go there and give us a few bucks, and it goes to keeping the show free. It's like PBS. I don't make a living off of this show, but it sure in the hell costs a lot to run. So I appreciate that you guys go and do that. Okay. On behalf of Bethany McKenzie, my name is Vinnie Tartaris. Put life into living and do it with enthusiasm.